Welcome back to Sarah's Table. Pew, 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 pew. It's a finger guns kind of day. Hey, listen, this is a surprise what we're doing today. My name is Sarah Moore. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm going to be your host and your co-conspirator today. I'm going to be your favorite person. I'm going to remind you to drink water, even though the weather has turned. You are still probably dehydrated. Just saying. Mm-hmm. Or tea or coffee or whatever you have in there. Also good. Today, I am just going to hang out with my friend Becca, and we're going to have a little chat about the ongoing series that we are doing. Becca, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, friends. I'm Becca Godsey, she, her pronouns. And we've been doing retrograde for what? We've done 4?
Yeah, this will be that we're getting ready to do our 4th. Yeah.
Coming up, which is, it's been so fun. And it wasn't meant to be a series. It was more of like, let's do this one-time thing, see how it goes, and ta-da!
Ta-da! Yeah, so everybody teases me that I have a way of like turning one commitment into like an open-ended invitation. And you know what? I'm going to embrace that. I get it. But we have been playing Retrograde by Grant Howitt. Mm-hmm. This is the whole game.
Beautiful.
This is it. It's just one piece of paper, several charts on here. You roll on a couple of things and you are supposed to just go.
Yeah.
The whole concept of the game is 3 sentences long. You just woke up and you can't remember a thing. People are after you. You need answers fast. Mm-hmm. This is supposed to be let's go to the table. We didn't prep anything. Let's just we need a palate cleanser between our long campaigns. Yes. And you memories come up as you are going, and it's supposed to be this fun, satisfying one little area. Mm-hmm. And we did that. Yeah. And then at the end of it, we were like, oh, I don't know that we're done with this story.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't get the ending that we wanted. It was good, but it was a cliffhanger. And we're like, let's do this again.
I can't help it. I just can never let go of a story. I don't like wrapping things up in a way that doesn't allow there to be further motion forward, just in case. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like the end of a season of a show you love, where you're like, maybe they're done, but people's lives don't just end. And so there's always a good writer will give you just the littlest threads that you could go back in and pull on if something happens and they get a movie deal or something,
here we are. We're doing it again.
Doing it one more time. What was it like for you? I mean, I don't even know that you knew what game we were playing when I do that to people. I'm so sorry, but I'm also not sorry.
It leaned into this project actually really nicely, not to have any inkling of
no clue when you showed
There was
up.
A consistent theme. You did it purposefully to make sure that we approach this with the right mindset.
Yes. Yes. But so I actually have only ever run this, and I have never played it, which is true of most of the games that are on the show. And so what is it like to not have any information about your character aside from a name and what you're wearing to start?
When I first heard the premise of it, I was like, oh, how are we going to come up with anything? Right? We don't know anything. All we know is we're in this room and a few assets of what we're wearing and an object that we have. And we don't even have the ability sometimes to even determine what does this object mean to me, right? So there's
what does it do?
Yeah, what does it do? And do I know how to use it, right?
Yeah.
So we've got, I'm like, oh, this feels like it's gonna be really hard. But when we got into it, it was much more freeing than I realized. It was more of really it reminds me of what I was promised with TTRPGs. Is that this is ruled by your imagination. And there are a lot out there, especially with the more rules you have, the longer the books they are. It's well, you can only kind of do this kind of thing, or you can only kind of take those sort of actions. And this was more of well, what what would you like to do in this space? You have
Yeah.
especially because you don't have context, like you can interpret things however you want. It may not be correct, but you could move forward with that and still make it into a story, which was really fun. I'm going to flip this on you for a second,
Yeah.
because you have some guidance. Like you could help say like, okay, we'll roll, you have a general idea, but it's also as much on the DM to fill in so many of the gaps.
Yeah.
What is that like to say, like, I've got two players, they're both known to be chaotic in their own right. How do you, how did you do such a great job of saying like, here's the right guidance, here's the own world that I'm also seeing and building with them simultaneously?
Well, so I have to say that the later sessions are getting more complicated as the
Fair.
DM.
Fair.
The first session, I felt like I was really doing it with you. I had I had less things to start with than you did. You know, you have those three pieces. I rolled on a table to find the room that you woke up in.
Yeah.
And then I rolled on a table to find out who was after you. And that was it. That's all I had. And I was like, this will be great. I'll just follow where they're going. You guys were very generous in the fact that you made choices. Like I think this game works when people are willing to like, I'm gonna go do a thing. I think it would be much harder. I know we've all been at the table with like conservative players, right? Like they have a little like, well, last time I made a choice, the DM killed me, so I'm just going to stay in this room forever.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that you were willing to be like, yeah, okay, like
I gotta try something.
I bought into this concept and I'm going to do it. And I think perhaps knowing that there wasn't a wrong answer and I didn't know exactly where things were going to end up was really like, I didn't feel like I had to prep anything that first day. Like I had done some prep, but I was like, oh, I'm just gonna, let's see where this goes. And then I mean, I figured out probably a third of the way into it. I was like, oh, the cameras were already there. Like this is
perfect.
This is a TV show of some kind. I don't know exactly what that means yet, but like people are watching. I don't know if this is like Truman Show stuff or this is like Running Man stuff or like some weird combination of the two. But yeah, and so then I teased that at the end because I just thought like, that's fun. That's a fun thing. And then we signed off and both of you were like, well, now we have to do it again.
Yeah.
Like I can't not.
We're in this rat race. We're not done. There's no finish line yet.
Yeah. And I think there was a little bit of I don't know if you ever watched the Joss Whedon show Dollhouse. So the idea was that people's memories were wiped in Dollhouse and you could implant any personality on them and they were like paying off debts. But there was one person that it like didn't work on. And so like they were remembering stuff they weren't supposed to. They were supposed to be blank slates and they were not, kind of a thing. And so that I kind of had that in my head of like, I feel like waking up with no memory is so compelling. Because what would you do if you don't remember stuff? What are your instincts?
What do you pay attention to?
Right? I
think this game works well for people who are willing to commit, but for people who are not just decision hesitant, but decision resistant, like people who want to have like, what's the right choice? There's no right choices. In fact, I mean, there's no wrong choices. It's just you make choices,
or they're all wrong choices.
Yeah, or they're all wrong. Right? Like, but you got to embrace it, and you get to be a part of that process. But if you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel like I have enough information to make a choice that I'm happy with. And it's like, well, you're not going to be happy.
No. I don't know that this is a game that, especially the one that we have crafted, like I don't know that this is a game that has a happy ending. The story, I don't think Like, even if it goes well for you, I don't think it goes
Yeah. What is this
well.
world that we're living in anyway that allows us like
Yeah.
it keeps getting bigger and bigger. But
Well,
but that's the beauty of it, right? And with that gives it a much more realistic effect.
yeah.
Mm.
So we've done 3 so far, and I'm just
Mhm.
interested. So you did one on you were on a train,
Yes.
and then you were in like a convent,
Yes.
and then you were
In the hotel kind of
on a
thing.
satellite
Space. Yeah.
hotel.
Satellite
Yeah.
room. Yeah.
In like a brothel, like a satellite brothel.
Yes.
Like, so like,
it was a real sketchy view. Because he was in prison outfit and I was in like a nunnery outfit. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So like, what is, of those, I don't know, I'm going to put you on the spot. Like, which of those was your favorite?
I actually really liked the train one. Mainly because
The
like
first one.
the first one, the idea was like on a train. So in my brain, like even as the story and we're progressing, we're moving along, we're also on a vehicle that is moving. Like, so it gave like this extra degree of intensity of like everything's moving. We're all going forward and there's going to be an end destination. Yeah. Yeah. And we kind of had that with the spaceship too, like explosion opportunity. But like right from the beginning of the train, it's like we're moving, we're going somewhere. We already and this was a commitment and we're following through. The commitment wasn't done. Like sometimes when you wake up and it's like, okay, I'm in a bed, some sort of commitment I've ended or I felt comfortable sleeping. But if I'm in a train car, that's not where I was supposed to sleep.
No, that was heading somewhere.
Yes.
You were in the middle of it.
Yes. And so there was that mentality of like, here we go right away. And I think that was the right start because we had fewer clues then and it prompted us to move faster. Whereas in the subsequent ones, to meta a little bit, like we were players, we had a better understanding, like we know something. We're going to have to try to trigger memories and help our characters out. And that's part of it. Like we see these characters, these puppets, we are them, but we're also like, let me help you find the information to do things.
Right. And then we had also talked about, and before we started this, we were like, okay, let's have a conversation about like, how much should we go over for you? Like, how much do I look at my notes as a player? Like how much do I go into it? Because the more times you remember things, different things solidify. And what did we talk about? And was this thing this? Like, how much do you want to go into it prior to? Yeah. And how much do we want something organic to just come out while we're talking? And it's all made up. And so they're all fake memories because it's a game that we're playing. And like, how does that change your approach to how you interact with the story?
Yes. Honestly, it's kind of freeing. It was also a little nicer because this game made me think about how I remember things and choose to allow that to influence how I move forward. And I realized I have a terrible memory.
Oh no.
Like I'm not like, if you're like, well, tell me about this event. And like, if it was in a year, I could probably remember it pretty well. If it was 5 years ago, I'm like, here were some general ideas. Some of the players' names may be different.
I was definitely there. I was for sure there. Yes.
And I think there were other people there.
Probably.
I remember. 3. Yeah. So maybe part of it is like, it's hard, right? As role players, we always bring ourselves into the story. And we're also limited by our own capabilities as well. So it informs us, but it limits us and who we are and how we can enact certain roles. And so I wanted to lean into that a little bit more, allowing myself to bleed into the character.
Yeah.
Which made it fun, but also made it easier for me to forgive myself for not remembering.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also like, I mean, memory is such a weird thing, especially when it is attached to like trauma of any kind. Like let's get into it, right? Yeah. Welcome. This is a little bit of a science talk and a little bit of a therapy talk, but the idea that like all of these things that you are remembering that are flashing into it are all like big, like full body traumatic events that you are remembering generally. Like that's how we have been structuring this. And your brain changes stuff to protect you
Mm-hmm.
from your trauma. Like scientifically, that's just how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that sometimes you can remember pieces really clearly, and you can remember the same stretch of time really clearly, and it will be different. Like the next time that you
Mm-hmm.
recall it for whatever reason, because like your brain is trying really hard to be like, no, don't,
Yeah.
that was bad.
Yeah.
Don't think
Here's
of that.
what you can or what you can't remember. Here's the emotions I want you to recognize. I mean, on a lighter note, like it made me think of like I was in a bad car accident and like various times I could have very different stories of what my brain was comfortable remembering about it. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's just different. Like,
Yeah. Especially
and
when you're still going through it.
yes.
You know, like,
as
we're
you're still
coming back to this space.
processing, still doing stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember, and like I have the more senses that you involve with your with that memory, the easier it is for you to remember them. I remember I can still feel like we went on vacation when I was in high school, and we went like smooth water rafting on the Colorado River, which is always just above freezing. Like it's like 33 degrees because it's all snow runoff, but then it's also always moving. And so it is just too warm to freeze, like just barely.
Just enough.
And one of the things that they had you do was like jump off the raft at the end. And so you were fully submerged in this 33-degree water, and then you came out and it was warm enough that you were almost immediately like warmed back up and you were fine. But like I don't remember much of that vacation, even though I was a teenager at the time, but I remember what it felt like to be submerged in 33-degree
a degree
water.
Of panic.
Yeah, because your body like it like knocked the wind out of you. It was so cold that you like like I was holding my breath, but it didn't matter because I couldn't have breathed anyway. And like the idea that the things that imprint themselves on you that strongly are things where your whole body is involved and you're feeling something extreme, like which is why people physiologically also like why you remember like falling in love, that like rush of endorphins and emotions. It affects your whole system, which is why people can remember it, but they can't remember like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I did on Tuesday. It was normal bullshit stuff, right? Like I think I probably, if I looked at the calendar, I could probably piece it together. Like, yeah, I think I had a meeting. I don't know, like, but it's not significant to your brain.
Yes.
And your nervous system and all that stuff. And I think this is really interesting to be able to figure out, to have more time to like more sessions to go back in and be like, what is significant to these characters?
Yes.
What is it that is so important that they remember it?
Yes.
We've all had thousands and thousands of experiences, and what do you remember? Really?
What stands out to you?
Yeah.
I like that you also mentioned like those that impact more of our senses make it easier for us to remember. And I'm trying to think like how we could continue to bring that in game, because I think that's something anyway, as role players, as creators in this space, so much of it we engage, of course, verbally, because it's this world of imagination. We're not in the same space. It's not like you can actually dim the lights in my place or light a candle to create a particular scent that you want us to remember, but trying to still bring those elements in to give the essence or remind you like this, there are other senses. There are
other stuff is happening to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That will help trigger some of those memories, or to help you feel more a part of the space is important.
Yeah. I mean, scent is hugely linked to your like memory center in your brain. The amount of times that I have like walked into a place that was baking something and like had that like intense, like I am 5 years old in my grandmother's kitchen kind of moment, you
Yes.
know, like it is a particular scent and you're like, oh, my body remembers this. I remember this. And I think scent gets left out a lot. I think you're right. Because at the table, like you're talking. And so you're talking about like what you're feeling and what you're seeing.
Yes.
But you don't really ever talk about like what it smells like. At least that's one that I forget to talk about often.
Yeah. I mean, some of the others, like, unless you're eating things, like taste is not going to be one that you touch into a lot.
Yeah.
Now it makes me want to create a character that licks everything. And that's all.
Everything. Yeah. I mean, I did have a character one time in a sort of a short campaign. And she was a barbarian and I just gave her she was a dragonborn barbarian and she just like wanted to lick everything that was metal. Like she was just tasting it. She was just like checking it. She would check it. And it started
as a lot that way.
You can. It started as a joke. And then I was like, no, this is a thing. Like,
that's so really smart.
Yeah. So we just started doing that. And I think if you give your players those options, they're going to do it. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
It's another way to interact with the world.
So it's like, you learn so much from it. I mean, toddlers put everything in their mouth.
Yeah.
Because they're learning. And that's
here we are. Let's go back.
Yeah. Your tongue is more sensitive than your fingers.
That's true.
Like, because not only can it feel it and move, it moves differently than your limbs.
Yeah.
But also like it has the added, you don't taste stuff through your fingers. We don't taste stuff through our fingers. No. I'm sure there's something that does.
I'm grateful I don't. I'm really grateful.
Yeah. But like it adds another sense in that you don't have with just like your dermis, you know?
Yes. And that's part of it. Like all of it is around just how do we immerse ourselves in this space? And now you do a really good job of creating environments for us. Like I know that you're like, okay, you're in a train car, but you describe this whole kind of the texture of things, the seats that you're sitting across from, right? I'm getting, when you describe it, and maybe this is just because you're really good at it, but when you describe it, I get also like the emotional tone that I should pick up from it. Like, is this a safe place? Does this feel exhausted? Like it's been worn a million times through. How do you actually do, like, so many people don't do that. And I think that's one of the things you do really well that helps
thank you.
Both Patrick and I figure out, like, how do we treat this place? Is it a hostile place? Is it welcoming to us? How is that purposeful in your process?
Yeah, I feel like I'm, and I understand that it's very like witchy new age woo-woo stuff, but I do so much of my stuff. Yeah. So much of my things on like what my gut says and like the like vibes and stuff that are coming off of things. I personally have been in a lot of places where I have like walked in somewhere and been like, I don't feel like I should be here. This is not for me here. I should go. And I don't know what it is that I'm picking up on. If that's, you know, like scientifically, there was something that like maybe I was picking up on the smell of gas or something very small that my body was like, no, but get out. But I also feel like for me, it's the feel of the space, right? Everything vibrates at like truly. If we're going strict science, everything has a vibration and you feel uncomfortable when your vibration doesn't match the place that you are in. And for me, that's kind of spiritually in like a vibey kind of universe way. And there are places you go in and you are not comfortable immediately. And there are places that you go in and you are immediately comfortable for no reason that you can understand. And so when I am describing a place, especially if it's a place that I don't want my players to like stay in, then I want it to be like, I want you to feel that space, like something is pushing on you
Yeah.
from inside and you don't know why, but you shouldn't be here. And so instead of me being like, hey, Becca, I don't want you to stay here. So
Yeah.
like, if you could just like quick make a decision, just get out, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep adding things to the environment until you are not, until you as a player are like, I
Yes.
don't think I should be here. I'm
Yes.
gonna go. And whether that's bringing people in or just like adding stressors in the environment of
Yes.
like, I think sound is a big one for me.
Mhm.
And I think bringing in natural sound in a way that alerts you to the fact that something is wrong is really powerful. Like, if you've ever been in the woods and suddenly it was very quiet.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh shit,
Yeah.
this is bad. Like,
I'm not in a spot where I should be.
yeah, not in like a
Yes.
still kind of way. Like, it's
Mhm.
just a nice calm day. In like a everything has stopped moving,
Yes.
which means that there's probably a big giant predator somewhere.
Yes. Why are
And-
there no birds that I hear?
I can't hear any birds. I can't hear any bugs.
Yes.
There's no rustling in the underbrush. This is bad.
Mhm.
And you know, we've all had it feels like somebody's watching me
Yes.
prickles, right? I can feel eyeballs on me. And like,
Mhm.
I think you have to describe that when you're describing where you are.
Mhm.
That's just as important to the environment as like, well, there's a table over here and there's some chairs and like
Yeah.
door here, door here.
Mhm.
Doesn't tell you anything.
No. It's nice for like, okay, here's where you can move, but yes.
But like,
point.
is there dust everywhere? Are there
Mhm.
footprints? Have things been disturbed? Is
Heck,
something
even how big the
broken?
chair is will tell you like who's it actually meant for.
Yeah. Is it one of those really comfortable chairs or is it like utilitarian? Like, there's so much that you can learn from the feel of the environment.
Mhm.
We were just talking about branding, you and I, before we started this.
Yeah.
Like, that is part of it. You're intentional about what your space looks like and what you look like. It's the same thing of when you're entering a place. If I just was like, okay, so you wake up in a, you know, you're strapped down onto like an old gurney and it's boy, that's probably blood on the floor, you know. Maybe you're hooked up to something, yeah, and then there's a door across from you and a door behind you. The end. That's all I'm gonna say there. That's very different than like, I woke up in a bed.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
different
what do I do with
feel.
that? Mhm.
You wake up in a room.
Yes. Great. Yes. I'm thinking like even now, like when I look at like our offices, like our spaces that we're recording, like one, we've curated it because we want it to tell a story.
Right.
It's not just like you're sitting in an office, but what kind of office? What kind of interactions happen in that office? You know, like the fact, like when I look at yours, I'm like, I see the soft curtain of the rainbow colors, the warm glow of the rainbow light all behind you, right? Like, so we're already getting warm, soft, fuzzy feels as we're getting into this. Like, and that's purposeful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus like you sit in front of a camera.
There is probably a wall behind you.
Yeah.
I think probably.
Yeah. You can't see it. There's a curtain in front.
Yeah. Unclear. Hey, don't worry about the wall. That wall's not important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I feel safe or comfortable here? I don't know.
What do you mean? Like,
Yes.
how do I? Yeah. I also think that it's interesting to be able to immerse yourself in an environment like with this game where I have a general idea of what each place is, but I sort of finish concocting it when you like are like, all right, I'm going to go through that door then. Great. All right, here's what's out there then. And it's sort of revealing itself to me a little bit as we go on as well.
Yes.
You know, we've had like robots and things in it.
Which was really cool.
Yeah. Very creepy. Don't love it. But every time that you're like, hey, I can do this, my character can do this. Like, all right, well, then we're going to weave that in somehow. I don't know how that's doing it, but things are the elements that you can remember in this game are like, they're really broad.
Yes.
Something you can do is one of the things, or something another PC can do. Like,
can we do? I don't know. Eat? I don't
yeah, could, if we had gone that route, it could have been something really mundane, but like, your character can see sound waves. Okay.
Why not?
Why not? That sounds perfect. We'll do that.
Yes.
That's not, I mean, it's technically on the list because it's something you can do.
Yeah.
But there's not anything else. It's blank here.
Yeah.
You got nothing else.
No more clues? Okay.
I just
all right.
turn it over. This is just my own notebook. There's nothing in here.
Exactly.
What do you do with it?
Yeah. I love that, though.
And I like that it's heavily sci-fi with a little bit of magic, but more implants and things.
Yes. It's very crazy. It's a weird mix. Weird is good, though. Is that why you picked up Retrograde to begin with? Like, obviously, there's tons out there. So many that even haven't made it onto your show, right?
Yeah.
How did you go like this? This is the one I want to air.
So I mine the Grant Howitt depths a lot. I feel like I have gotten to a point, especially with his one pages, that I can pick any of them and know that within 15 to 20 minutes, I will feel comfortable running it and teaching it. Like he's very good at getting all the rules out there in a very easily digestible way. Yeah. It's one page that I have to go through. Even his he's done Spire, which is like a giant book, right?
Yeah.
But like
the man has range.
He's real good. Thanks, Grant. But like most of his ones are either one page that you have access to, or like I think I ran one of his that was like 8 pages. So they're not going to take a lot of time to digest. And I was looking at what would be an interesting story that I could tell, that I had just done a series of a lot of very traditional, like adorable, cutesy, high fantasy, like you are a talking animal, or you are a witch, or you are like a bee. Like there was a lot of like really sweet sort of like, oh, let's just like go out and see what we can do, and la 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 la. And I hadn't really gotten into any sci-fi stuff on the show. I feel like there are less sci-fi options that are small publisher and indie. And so this one just kind of poked out at me, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'd do something like that. Yeah. And I mean, I it's not that I didn't think I was going to like it. I just think that I didn't think that I would get to the end of it and be like, okay, more though.
Here we go. Come on.
We should do more of this particular story. I mean, I do have a way of just like falling in love with characters that we have been like, I feel maybe we should write this up as something. Maybe there should be more to this. Yeah. But this one felt like I don't think the story is done. Whereas usually I come out of a one shot and I'm like, that was fun. Yes. And I think I could probably either write it up or write a little couple of offshoots up of the characters themselves and then feel satisfied with that story. But this one felt like, no, but I set up a big thing and now we got to pay the big thing off.
Yes. Well, and it was a perfect setup because we just play it again. Like, it's not like now we have to come up with different mechanics and move it to a different system. And it's a whole massive different type of world building. It works. Yeah. It goes back to it and we're into this cycle and it helps us. And I love and the prompts in Retrograde, each time it makes us think more and more about ourselves and trying to piece together. And I think this is the hard part out of all of it. and which makes it fun because I can't even remember all of it, is the timeline of our
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
When do certain things come in? Do we call each other by different names at this point? At what point did we already have this history when we engage with that part of the
Are
story?
all the names fake?
Yes. Yes.
Like, do you know each other's actual name?
yes.
What-
It's so fun.
Yeah. And also, like, and we do it every time we play a session, and then we're like, hey, thanks. And we sign off, and then we have a quick conversation. And then
Mhm.
I'm always like, how many of these are any of these memories real? And you and Patrick are always like, why are you doing this to me? Like,
Yeah, like,
"Oh,
what do you-
I can't do it. And then I'm like, okay, well, see you next time. And then they hang
Yeah.
up. But yeah, like how many things that are bleeding through are implanted memories? Are they all
Mhm.
implanted memories?
Yes. Yeah.
Is any of it real? Do you actually know each other at all? I just like,
What can we believe?
what can you believe? Your brain
Yes.
is playing tricks on you. And also, like, while that's an exciting prospect of like you get to discover new things as a player, like as a person, losing your like cognitive function of like remembering things is such a terrifying
Yeah.
like prospect.
Yes. Even a safe space. Like if you had people around you helping you, you're not in a rush. But here we are. Somebody is coming for us. Like,
Yeah.
wait.
And why do you remember that?
Yes.
Like when you wake up, your body's like, no, you gotta go. But like,
Yeah.
can you trust that
Mhm.
feeling? Or is that like the fight or flight kicking in when you wake up in an unfamiliar surrounding?
Mhm.
And I think
Constant
you
panic.
and Patrick do a good job of like deciding when you're going to trust each other in a
Mhm.
way that is not super prohibitive for the story, right? Like
Yes.
if you were like, no, stranger,
Yeah.
and then immediately ran opposite directions, I'd be like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I mean, we'll do that, but I think it's going to be less compelling,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like,
How do we get ourselves back together into this story? Right.
right. But also, there's a lot of recorded history, right? Where people were trapped in places and they came out just bonded
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's trauma bond. Da.
Yeah. We're in the same boat. Though I appreciate, at least at this point, we can agree and have the safe thing that we're both in the same boat. Like it would
Yeah.
be very different if I like if outside the game, it would be hard to separate, be like, oh, Patrick is actually part of the system. Or if he's a new character this time, I'd be like, I would have a hard time in game, like changing, like, this is not the same anymore.
Yeah, well, what do I do? Right.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
now I think like if I were wanting to change it up, because like I love what we're doing and I don't want to change it up. But if I were like, all right, let's do a whole fresh new system,
Mhm.
I would even think like, how do I bring in third parties every now and then and they don't know to trust them or not? How would that
Mhm.
impact them?
Yeah.
Mm.
Would you feel the same bond with them
Mhm.
in immediate, or is it like you start remembering stuff with only one other person and then you're like, well, why can't I remember anything about this other person?
Yes.
That seems wrong.
That, in retrograde, you could play with more people than just two.
Correct.
So that can happen in this. You're like, I only know this person. What happens when it's like a group of 4 and 3 of them remember things with each other and not
But one doesn't. Yeah.
Oh.
I think you can put, I mean, there are options
There's-
wise. I think you can play with up to 6.
Oh my gosh. There's so many ways this could play out. And I love that.
Yeah.
That makes me nervous. I love this. I am uncomfortable again. It's good.
No. Just my shoulders just like creeping up.
Yeah.
What am I'm gonna make myself small. Don't look at me.
But
Yeah,
that's kind of the interesting part about this too, is that in others where you get to create your character, there's a degree of confidence that comes around it. This game is built around that discomfort and having you have to interact with it. Even when you create scenarios, again, you have to, it's a creation. It's not necessarily real.
Yeah.
You don't know how the other person's going to engage or react or remember it too. You know, like,
but like,
but we love big butts. Yeah.
And we cannot lie. Yeah, I think it's, and I have noticed that in our last episode, I had to remind myself that we needed to maybe have some die rolls. Because we sort of abandoned them a little bit. Like we've gotten to a point now where we're like, okay, we're telling the story, and I would just interject things, and then I'd be like, that triggers a memory for you, and I was like, I mean, technically that was supposed to have been a roll, but
as a DM, you have the power.
Narratively, it feels correct for me to have things triggered, and I am going to show. I have had to color code. This was supposed to be a one-off. And so all of the things in black are the first. And then there's a couple other colors. Episode 2, I started doing notes in red so that I would have things different. And then episode 3, I had blue, but there wasn't enough space. So now we have a separate second page with blue notes. And then the next one I've already decided. I've already got it. It's pink. I have a pink pen because I, of course, would be the person that has a collection of rainbow gel mark pens. Like I will not deny myself. But we have plumbed the depths here. We're out of names.
Yes.
We've used them all. And I wrestled with myself a little bit, and I was like, okay, so I could keep having you roll on this table, which would mean that there's a possibility that you might repeat a name, or that you would take a name that the other player had at some point, and how would that be? Ooh. But I decided to just like add a couple of extra. Yeah. I'm just gonna add some extra. I'm gonna add some extra like things that you could have on your person. I'm gonna add a couple of extra things that you could be wearing. And I'm just like I'm just gonna take inspiration from what Grant did, and I'm gonna add some extra things. And I would love to hear what he has to say about it, honestly. I might send it to him and be like, hey man, what did like,
he needs to be on here sometime for you to interview.
Yeah, like come on, let's have a chat. So the idea, and I'm just going to say it out loud on the internet now. I don't know that we've said it before, but the idea is that next Gen Con, both Becca and Patrick are going to be in attendance, and my Sarah's Table Live is going to be the culmination of this series. So I don't know how many more of these we're going to get.
Yeah.
And I also have no idea how that would be like. I don't know how many people are watching this series in particular, because it's interspersed in a bunch of other stuff, and like I don't know if it'll make any sense, but come and see it. Yes,
it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good.
I already decided that they're getting that, like, I have to do props because I'm just a prop person.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And so they're getting their name tag as a physical thing when they get there, and they're going to get probably the only thing that they might know beforehand in case they want to do it is what they're wearing, so that they can show up in the proper outfit. Proper outfit. But everything else will be handed to them.
I think that's going to be so much fun. And just, it's going to add a new layer of interaction. Right? To actually be able to hold it, to see it. Yes. And to share that with the audience there is going to be very fascinating.
And also, like, we've made all these memories. Have so many of them.
Yes.
Already. And we're only on this is only three episodes worth of memories.
Yes.
You know, like, would it be interesting for me to have these memories written on like index cards and be like, this is the memory you trigger. Here you go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, do we want to hand it over? That takes some of it out of your control, I think, a little bit. But I could do like trigger words. I could be like, I could just write trumpet on one and Paducah on one, and then be like, here you go.
There's
and
so
I would have more per memory, like trigger word, but like, it just sort of
how they seep back in. And that's the thing. There's no wrong way of doing it. It's just once we do it, we commit.
Yeah. As long as we are with it, you know?
Yes. This is going to be good. Well, and even more so, like when we think about it in person, there's already a lot of energy that's transferred here, like in these online, like the game, it's fantastic. It feels so fluid, which I think is really hard to do anyway when, you know, even though like I'm looking at you right now, but I'm not actually like looking at you. Like I'm looking slightly off to the side. And it's a digital version, right? Versus when you're in person, how much more that transference gets to be amplified.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah. And like also how we choose to seat ourselves. Like we have been so separate.
Yeah.
That you couldn't like, I know that at the table, I'm a very tactile person.
Yeah.
Surprising everyone, I'm sure, who is watching.
What? You?
What? But like I do a lot of, especially when I am a player with somebody, if they are within arm's reach, I touch them. Like I'm like, hey, and I do a lot of, you know, it's only LARPing if you're standing up. So like kind of do a little like, I'm interacting with you. If my character is holding your hand, I'm going to hold your hand. Like if it's like, I'm trying to get you to focus and I'm looking at like, if we have established that you trust that it's okay that I physically interact with you, I'm going to do it. And so I wonder how much of that will like change for us when you and Patrick are next to each other.
Yes.
And I understand that it's not you guys versus me.
No.
Because that's not how I see it.
Yeah.
But also I am playing the danger.
Yes.
So it is a little bit you two versus me, a little bit, you know, and like,
have you thought what the stage setup would be? Like the separation, like
I know, that's what I was just thinking. I mean, I could
maybe we put you like on a high pedestal up above as like a deity that leans us.
I mean, I could very much see it. I have DM'd. I usually have 4 players when I do it live. And so I have done it between, you know, me in the middle and then 2 on each side. But I could be on one side and the 2 of you next to each other and another side. Like, I think it would be very strategic if I chose to separate the 2 of you. Like if I was like, no, you can't be next to each other.
Yes.
What does that mean? Or if you're separated that way, is it because I have physically separated you in the game?
Oh,
like maybe the space you can see each other and you can't get to each other. Is that a thing that
like one of those window or mirrors in between? Oh, that would be. But I don't think a lot of people consider this when they move from online into in person. Is you really need to change, like online, like we still consider like, how do we do the movement? Where's the DM? And then the player cams are over here, you know, sort of thing. There's still some of that. But when you do it in person, the setup is still just as important, if not more so. And I think it's a brilliant idea to think like, how does this then impact the storytelling that I'm creating with them to reinforce this setup I've given them?
If it's because if you're allowed to be, if you're next to each other, you're able to like, you're close enough to touch.
Yeah.
That creates like a safety.
Yes.
That in this game feels really important.
Yes.
Because of the fact that you don't remember anything.
Well, and I love, personally, I love to do little asides or small little commentary moments like this. I'm like, but if he's on the other side, I can't do that.
Can't do that.
Everything has to be equally as heard for everyone, right? Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. I mean, and you could because you're mic'd, but
Yeah.
it's like it's
It's not
different.
the same versus like me leaning over and be like, hey, blah, 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 blah. You
Yeah,
know,
feels
everyone can still
different.
hear it, but yes. Oh,
Mhm.
ooh.
Again with the shoulders.
Oh, I love it. I love it. But that's like that. That's what games should give you is the feeling of like, I'm excited. I can feel my body reacting because this is going to be so good.
Really excited about it.
Yes.
Let's do it now. What are you doing next week?
Yeah, we're just going to show up at the Gen Con venue, even though Gen Con isn't going on.
Hello, everyone. This is the room. We are here.
Let's just show up. Gen Con 2.0.
I know.
Yeah. We're about 2 months out anyway, right? Like
it's fine.
Yes.
I mean, it was only a month ago.
Yeah. Oh,
Isn't
only
that wild. It feels like it feels so long ago.
Yes, it does.
And it was like 5 weeks. Like truly, like it was, it was so recent.
Nope. I thought I was pretty conservative with my guess of 2 months. My bad. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
It's wild.
But I think that's one of those like we're busy people, but when you have good things with good people, you make time for it.
Yeah, for sure. I hate that we can only do in person potentially once a year.
Yeah, that's more of like the willingness is there. It's like the finances and other commitments like work.
I know. I'm telling you though, everybody who is watching, if you want to like contribute to our fund to get us all together sooner, we will totally do that. And we would probably go down to Becca because then we could side trip it to Disney World.
Oh, I was thinking Paducah, but yes.
Oh my God. To go play in the Quilt Museum in Paducah.
Yes.
Can't imagine calling the Quilt Museum and being like, hey, this is weird.
Yes.
But we would very much like to set up an RPG in your quilt museum somewhere.
Yes.
We're going to record it and stream it live.
But I think why not? Also,
why not?
We already do things like D&D in a castle. Great, done. But so much of D&D doesn't have to be in a castle. Find other random places.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Peter always jokes that he wants to do D&D in a penthouse. Because
dream big. Right.
But there's a restaurant in the tallest tower in Seattle. And I never remember the name of the tower. It's something with the C, but it's the tallest one. And there's a restaurant at the top where there are private rooms that you can rent out. And I'm like, you got to do it. You got to rent out that room. Yes. And then we can play Shadowrun overlooking the skyline of Seattle because that's where Shadowrun takes place is in Seattle. Yeah. And so I'm like, let's do it. The idea of doing a game in whatever setting that you are in, like set your D&D in a castle. I think that's dope. Yeah. But like this game is so wild. I don't even know where we would do it.
Oh, I know.
Like because
we're everywhere.
Because it's everywhere, right?
Yeah. There's no wrong choice.
Yeah. Is there a train that we could be on that we could play with in the background? That would be probably amazing.
There's like a train museum somewhere that we could go on.
Listen,
I would do a real one though too.
Yeah, I live in the Midwest, which is the crossroads of America, and so we have 1,000 million trains,
Perfect.
And a bunch of train museums and things, and like we have, but there's also a train.
The train ride to Gen Con. That's what we should find somewhere, and then we're gonna
ride it down.
Yes.
We only need a couple hours. We just have to be focused, Yes. But there's a train that you can go from Chicago to, I think it's LA on the train. And it's like a 54-hour train ride. It books up literally like years in advance. The fancy like drawing rooms that you could like, I have like a room on this train for the next couple of days. and it is expensive, but that sounds dope, right?
Yes.
Like get in
Yeah.
there, play
I'm
a
in.
thing. Oh my gosh. I want to do all of these things.
We're all in. We're all in.
No.
I want to know, like, I keep thinking now, like, now I'm thinking of different games
Mm.
based on different locations, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Like, wherever you can go, like, why not? Like, what kind of, if I went to a Panera, what kind of story would I tell in a Panera? Like, there's so much, though. Like, we
Yeah.
could have fun with this. Though I
Yeah.
do, okay, so you know, you have a library of TTRPGs. Is there one that is food based? Like, I would like to say, like, is there one that like it aligns with this 5-course meal, like a dinner and a game situation? Like,
I mean, I'm sure there is. I'm sure we could put one together.
Yes.
The ones that come off the top of my head, probably not terribly useful. One of them is Feast of Legend, which is literally the Wendy's RPG. Where
why
you
not
get,
though?
where
Why
you
not?
get buffs if you
Mhm.
like have certain things that you have bought from Wendy's.
Yes.
And also you get disadvantages if you are eating any other fast food restaurant food at your table, which I think is very funny. I've played
Yes.
that game. I know people got a lot of like, we're making fun of it pretty hard.
Yeah.
Whoever created it was very
Mhm.
clearly a lover of RPGs because it is well put together and it is very fun.
Yeah.
I played a Frosty and they help make friends and they get bonuses if there's fries in the parties because
They go together.
you go together.
That's smart. That is smart.
It was cute. It was very cute. Like I get it. And then there's one called Cupcake Witches.
Yes.
And
That's cute.
it's bakery based
Mhm.
food magic.
Okay.
And so there's that one
Yes.
by Steffi Devon
Mm-hmm.
from Angry Hamster. It is she describes it as cozy horror because it can go a little horror because you're witches.
Yeah.
But you're also like making pastries.
Yeah.
So how
Mhm.
scary can it get?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
As-
Maybe there's a skull in there, but it's a cute round one
As
made of fondue.
scary as you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I know that there's other like food-based stuff, but
Mhm.
those are the two that I can think of off the top of my head. But I also listen, food. I love food.
Right?
And when we would host, we do I have a traveling DM game where everybody does a one shot, and we always theme our food and like a cocktail around the setting of the game.
Yeah.
We did. Have you ever played Hollow Earth Expeditions?
Mm-mm. Great name though.
I really love
Also.
pulp adventure, right?
Okay.
Like it is
Mhm.
so good.
Mhm.
And it is based around the idea. It's like the 30s, 40s. Nazis are bad.
Mhm.
And the idea that the earth is hollow and inside there are dinosaurs and monsters and magic creatures. And there are a couple of entrances in, and then you never know if you can get out again. And there's
Of course.
Atlantis has sunk into there and all of that stuff. And like I set the way in like the Far East in the 30s. And then I was like, great, we can like I did some like Yeti based dessert kind of a thing. And like, let's put in, let's like let's make bao and like all that stuff. And like, we'll have like we're going to go find Shangri-La kind of situation. And we're going to be over there going into the mountains. And then, like, I think theming with your experience, this is what you were talking about, bringing in like all of your senses, the smell of that food and the taste of that food. And like, what sort of soundscape do you have playing in the background? And
yes,
I want that.
All the options, a whole world to be created.
All right, so
we're dreaming big.
Let's plan a game aside from this retrograde, which is definitely happening already. We've got that plan.
Yeah.
Ideally, what is the thing that a game you've been wanting to play, and let's like find a place to do it.
Yes.
Figure it out.
We need to make it happen. Absolutely.
I want to do it. Is that creepy?
No, not at all. Not okay. Maybe a little. Maybe a little. Okay.
People watching are like, this is a new side of Sarah. I don't understand what's happening.
All of it. All the sides of Sarah. All of it. This tells me just it demonstrates that you are multi-genre. You can do all of them.
I just like cutesy.
Yes.
Just
but
like joy. But we can
cutesy works well with everything. Also, it's even more so when something you think is super cute can then go into the creepy realm. It's like, whoa. Like, you know, there's something about like teddy bears, but when the eyes or when it moves on its own, it's like, whoa, this is.
It's the like the scariest thing are scary children.
Oh, gosh, yes. Kids are adorable until they're not. And
until
then
they're not.
The scariest thing you've ever encountered.
Yeah. Did you watch Lovecraft Country?
Yes. Yes. So good.
Yeah.
I'm mad we didn't get more of it.
I'm not a big horror person.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay with most of that series. And then that one episode with the scary children.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, watched it in the morning because I know myself. So I would wait until it was on demand. And I would watch it in the morning with all of the lights on. And I slept with the lights on that night.
Yes.
Hours later. And my partner was like, baby, turn the lights off. And I was like, absolutely not. You are just going to have to figure out a way to sleep.
Yep. Sorry. Because
I can't. Because every time I close my eyes in the dark, they are there. And that's terrible. So
they were horrifying though. Just
so scary.
And even when I was looking, I'm like, their costume, like it's not over like it's some of the other works, like the amount of CGI that they did for some of the others. I'm like, this seems rather simple, but this is the thing I'm going to remember the most.
This is the scary one. Yeah. And
they are horrifying.
I think it's part of that is things that are acting in ways that you were not expecting them to.
Yes.
It's the unpredictability, which just takes the safety away from you. That you're like, uh-oh, I definitely thought this was going to be a good thing. And it's decidedly not.
Yes.
And I don't like it.
I am uncomfortable.
Thanks so much. Yeah, scary children, man.
Can we not get scary children in retrograde? I'd be happy if we...
For sure. No scary children.
Yeah.
I'll make it a note. No scary children. Safety discussion.
We'll just pass on theirs. In the right time and place, perhaps. Yes.
The right time and place will never be this retrograde campaign. Yes. I promise you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I do love that even though retrograde doesn't get into horror, that we still have the discussion of safety, of respecting boundaries. And I feel like a lot of people miss that. Like, oh yeah, we're going to have violence. Of course, we're going to have these discussions. But in games that they're not, sometimes people think they could skip over it. And I'm glad for all of our sessions. We never skip over the basics of saying, I want to respect you as an individual sitting at this table. Yes. The game is fun, but first let's recognize who you are and where you're at right now and how you want to engage this game. And I think that's so smart.
Yeah. What I also find really interesting is that I've seen a lot of pushback, not a ton of pushback online, but when people push back, it's usually like, well, I trust the people at my table and they trust me and I shouldn't have to have that safety discussion.
Yeah.
And that feels, first of all, wildly irresponsible. But what I think people don't realize is that they are doing a safety discussion. They are just not recognizing that they have done it. Like, well, my friend, his dad is sick. And so we're not doing any parental loss this week. Like, that's a safety tool.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
You just aren't recognizing that that's what you're doing. And so part of it is great that you are already doing it with the people that you play with regularly. But more so, the idea that if you are ever going to play with people that you are not familiar with like that,
Yes.
Like you
Yeah.
have to check in. You don't want
Mhm.
anybody at the table to not feel. I don't ever want somebody to leave and go, wow, that was really uncomfortable, and I don't ever want to do this again
Yeah.
with this person or at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
the amount of people that I talk to who have said like, I didn't think I liked D&D or RPGs or whatever,
Yeah.
because the first time I played it was really uncomfortable at the table.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you don't like
You didn't like that
this.
table.
You just didn't. That table was bad for you.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and you're right. Especially with new, it's a lot of people are like, well, I'm always an open door. I'm always ready to receive. But that's then not taking responsibility. You're putting it on others to come to you.
Right.
And if you care about others, especially in recognizing as a DM, you are in the position of power.
Yep.
Right. You get to influence the game much more so than others. You're also the one who gets to say, no, these are the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to step away from the table, right? Like that's typically how that process goes. So
yeah,
especially if you're new, I like the idea of like, let's just always make sure like beforehand, we always do a check-in. Or even if there's like a lot more people, it's like, hey, once a month, I'm going to send you a message via Discord. Know that that's me reaching out. If you've got anything, it doesn't have to be bad, but if you want to talk, we're here to do it.
Yeah.
But you normalize that process. Like if you are a priority, I'm going to show you that through actions. I'm not going to just let you assume that you know that I care about you.
Yeah. I think that
I feel like this is messaging for all friends anyway. Too.
Yeah, I know. Everyone listen. Everyone pay attention at home. I just think that like sometimes it can be really difficult to acknowledge that like maybe you would like some grace as a person, especially as like a femme presenting person. We are socially conditioned to be like, it's okay. I'm going to accommodate you. I don't want my feelings to be a problem. Yeah. And so I'm just going to sit on them and it'll be fine. And I like the older that I get, I just like, it's exhausting. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to trust that I can say to my friends or the people at my table, this is a line for me. And I know I'm making myself vulnerable to tell you that, but I would like you to respect it. And if I am comfortable doing that as a DM, or uncomfortable, but willing to do it anyway, I would hope that like leading by example that way, that other people might be like, actually, could we also stay away from this? Like, just like, I'm just going to put that on the table. Once it's like, it's like breaking the seal.
Yes.
Right. Like you've pushed over that meniscus of like the glass is really, really full and one more drop is going to make it spill.
Yeah.
And like, I will be the drop that makes it spill. I'm fine with that. Like, and cause then I want to know what's happening. Yeah. Because even friends who are incredibly close to you, it is impossible to know all of the stuff that is going on with them.
Or where they are that day.
Where they are that day.
Yes.
I have standing to the point now where like I have said it enough online that like other DMs that I have gone to are like, your lines are this, and they tell me, and I'm like, yep, those are the ones, because I just like, I feel really strongly about them, and I am going to say it. Like, this is where my lines are. Thanks so much. And then like, because I'm not embarrassed about it, it's easier to have discussions with people who are like, this is maybe weird and won't come up, but please no, fill in the blank. I'm like, great.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Most of those things I would, most of them are so far outside the realm that I would have never thought of them. But I would so much rather you tell me.
Yes. Yes. Just to confirm. Just to confirm. Yep. It's better to have that little discussion, and it doesn't take long, but it is important to have. Yeah. And it's also, and I like that, right? Yours, people know you normalize the process of sharing, of letting people know. And it also tells us what kind of stories we also want to tell. Yeah. Especially in an online setting. Like not everything needs to be shared or covered. Not everything has to be in a story, right? Or that you
Yep.
have to be the one telling it. And
Yep.
so it's really important, like, because sometimes even when you share boundaries, it's or where what you're comfortable with, is also recognizing and deciding, is this the right table for me? And
Yeah.
that's okay if it isn't, right? Like sometimes I'm like, I can't stomach this today. That doesn't mean that story can't be told, but maybe it's just like I'm just dealing with some
Just
things that
not
makes
with
it not
me.
right for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I've had the discussion, you know, being on Gen Con TV, we've had a lot of discussions of like, where does the safety discussion take place? Is it important that it's in front of the audience? Do we want to have a discussion and then just like let people know that we've done it?
Yeah.
Do we want to list the boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
And like there's a little pushback sometimes from some people that are like, well, let's not list it, because as long as you acknowledge that you've done it and that there's tools in place for your players, then that should be enough. And I guess I can partially see that, but this is being viewed by strangers, and I want you to know what kind of story I'm telling or planning on telling, because I don't want someone to get blindsided. We did a game of my brain is going to Mazes by Ninth Level Games, which is like a very high fantasy sort of their polymorph system answer to D&D. It's that kind of setting, but using the proprietary system. And they were going to be fighting a bunch of spiders. And I was going to be talking about big ones, you know, I was going to be talking about it. And arachnophobia is legit real, and it's a big thing. And so at the beginning, I was like, as a heads up, they're fighting a lot of spiders. And if that is not your thing, please turn this off.
Yeah.
It is just as much for the people watching.
Yeah.
That's
true.
I have a lot of people who watch the show with their kids. I want you to know that this is an episode that's okay for you to watch with your kids.
Yes.
Or not. If we're getting into something a little bit heavier or more adult, I want you to know that prior to.
Yes.
Not all game names are indicators of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I am in the process of running like Thirsty Sword Lesbians. Maybe don't watch that with your kids. But
it's a fun one. That's over you're with AJ
Winters, over on Winter's Tale. Yeah. Could be great. And also, I'm not going to make the judgment for what you allow your kids to watch, but like, I want you to be informed.
Yes.
And so here are the shenanigans.
Yes.
That are going to happen tonight.
Yes. And then you can make the choice. And that's the key thing, is that we want to be informed of what we're taking in.
Yes. I don't know. Maybe it's scary today. Maybe you don't like scary. Come back next week when I will have talking squirrels. Be fine.
I love talking squirrels. Also a big fan.
Big fan. Yeah. Yeah. I think safety, I'm really happy with the direction that safety discussions have been going in.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Very much so. Very much so. Let's keep doing them.
Yeah, everybody, keep doing them.
Keep doing them. Care about each other. Provide venues for opportunities to be honest. Because if you want honest, vulnerable gameplay, you got to start there.
Yeah. Well, and that's not just for like really scary stuff. Like, I think as adults, the giving somebody the permission to be vulnerable, to be like silly, is also a thing. I mean, people feel stupid doing it. They're afraid they're going to get laughed at instead of laughed with. And like, that can impact what you're doing at the table and your ability to have an enjoyable time.
Yes.
And so if you create a space where people feel safe to like potentially fall on their face, like that is really what we're going for. You know, like, try something. Maybe it won't work. That's okay.
Yeah.
All your jokes aren't going to land, but you shouldn't feel afraid to make them. Go in there and do it. Like,
very much so. Very much so. Yes.
This has just been like a TED Talk.
Yeah, this has been. But this is important because we see this, or like I listen to Reddit. I look at what people are saying about like their D&D tables or their TTRPG tables. Why did they stay there? Why did they leave? Right? Because that helps inform me. Right? If for whatever reason a player doesn't tell me, at least I'm trying to like be aware. I'm learning from others' experiences outside of my own.
Yeah.
On that end. And it's one for every game, right? It's important to check in. How are you feeling? What do you feel comfortable sharing? Other things too, like, hey, this game is meant to be slapstick funny, right? Like
it's tone. Tone is important.
Telling people like we're not getting into seriousness or we're not doing romance, like letting people know ahead of time to gauge expectations will tell people how they can interact. Then they know like, yeah, I want to slip on a banana peel. Like, okay, yeah, you can absolutely do that because it's in line with what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Or, even the idea of like, we want to be, we've heard murder hobo goblins plenty of times, right? Yeah. That's, some people really like that. Some people don't.
Yeah.
I can indulge in it a little, but then I feel real bad very quickly. I feel real bad real fast.
Yeah.
So I know that those are tables that I can't fully engage in, and I'm probably not going to be the right match for. And that's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not horror games, right? It's still important to say, like, here's where I'm coming from. Here's what I'm ready for, the storytelling. Those discussions and setting expectations, key.
Yeah.
Key.
Well, and even something as little as including in your safety discussion something that your players really want to do at the table. Like the boundaries shouldn't be all, don't ever talk about these things. That's it. Like, what are your goals? Do you have goals? Do you have, somebody called them like glimmers as opposed to triggers, like something that makes you really excited. Like, what do you want to see in this game? What is it like? We have found the things that are outside of where you're comfortable, but like, let's go into the middle of your comfort. What's that something that's going to make you so excited? And like, it can be something big, like, I just really want to feel like a hero. I want to like save something important. Or like I had a friend a while ago, just be like, years ago, just be like, I really just want to punch a dinosaur in the face. Like, that's what I that's what I want with this
say
game.
That so you get it.
Say it. Like, I will go out of my way to give you that if that's a thing.
Let's hope you roll high enough, but at least the opportunity will be there.
Even if you don't roll high enough and you miss, maybe you get eaten, but like, you did it.
Yeah. You could punch from the inside as you're getting
so
dissolved in the stomach acid.
And then you die. But you know what? That's okay. We accomplished your goal together.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that's the key thing, right? Like, how do we continue to do these things and build together? But that means talking, recognizing what we're building. I mean, it's anything. Like, if we were just building Legos, if we don't talk about what we're building and you decide to build a mansion and I'm building a yacht, we're going to have the weirdest thing that's not going to look like it goes together, right?
Might be cool, though.
It would actually be really cool.
Mansion yacht. I'm on it.
Yes. But even better if we both from the beginning knew
it was going to be a mansion
yacht. Yeah. Like, oh, okay. Then here's how we could do this and make sure the foundation is a boat. And then we build a mansion on top of it,
Yeah. Can we do it on a mansion yacht? Can we do a game on a mansion yacht?
Yes, absolutely. Let's find us a mansion yacht.
Listen,
so that does remind me,
folks at home, give me a mansion yacht.
Just give it to us. That reminds me though, like, because you're right, like a mansion yacht would be cool. Could we accidentally build one? Yes. And there are plenty of tables that you've probably maybe some of you never had safety discussions and you've been good.
Yeah.
There are times, you get lucky, but imagine how much better. It's not bad, but how much better where you could take something that's good and you make it amazing.
Yeah.
By having one more small step in there of like, hey, let's talk. You can have a mansion yacht, but your mansion yacht could be even bigger and better should you talk about it ahead of time and make sure everybody knows we're building a mansion yacht.
Yeah. Well, and also I think some people get nervous about doing that safety discussion in front of other people.
Sure.
Like, I don't want you to know that it's my line. I just want it to not happen in the game. And like, there's nothing to say that safety discussion can't be private.
Right.
That it can't be written and like you just send it to me through a text message or a Discord message or an email. Like, we are not in it. if you are a good DM
Mhm.
and you care about people as people,
Mhm.
then you should want to know what is going to accidentally trigger someone at your table.
Yeah.
Like, gather it in whatever way that person is comfortable,
Mhm.
and then just avoid it. There are so many things that can be happening in your stories that,
Mhm.
like, it's not hard to avoid. Even if each person at your table, let's say you have a full table of 6, and even if
Yeah.
each person has like 5 or 6 things that they're like, hey, I just can't do this. There are an infinite number of stories. You're like,
Yes.
if you can't tell a story without avoiding those things, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, you're not
Yeah.
doing your job.
Hmm. Well, it's also understanding, yeah, that's part of the challenge of being a DM.
Yeah.
And there are times where it's like, I would love to play a game. I am not in the position to DM it.
No,
That's okay.
my brain is cooked. I can be at
Yes.
this table, but I
Yes.
cannot be in charge of this table.
Yes. Yes. Because it takes another level of awareness and consideration. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not to say players aren't considerate of other players. You should still be. And
Yes,
that's where
of
it
course.
also does help, like knowing, like, if I have an idea of what some of my fellow players' boundaries are, I'm going to also choose to avoid it, right?
To
Like, if,
avoid them.
yeah, like, oh, let's say if you are afraid of spiders, right? The DM knows, all right, well, then we're not going to have spider encounters. But it's also good for me to know that I'm not going to like put a fake spider in your character's bed to make them wake up, as a
Right.
dumb little
Yeah.
prank.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that anonymity of the boundaries, I don't think should be hidden from the table. Like,
Mhm.
you don't have to know who at the table is afraid of spiders to know that there's
Yeah.
just not going to be spiders at this game.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
real easy.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who is super afraid of spiders. And so
Mhm.
we have played, and he's been at my table for, I mean, off and on for like 20 years. I have never felt like I was missing something because
Yeah.
I couldn't tell a story about spiders at this table. Like, like I'm not like, well, everything sucks now because
Yes.
I only want to do the thing that you don't want me to do.
Exactly.
Like, you don't, so do something else.
Yep. Yep. Like, that's what we got. That's what we got. But that's part of it. And having those conversations earlier on then gives you more time to plan and say, okay, well, I had planned all these spider encounters. I need to come up with something else. If you wait last minute to have any conversations and you're not good at adaptability, that's going to be harder for yourself. Set yourself up. That's also why a lot of places do session zeros.
Yeah. I love a session 0.
I do too. I do
I
too.
just like the world building is cool and the character building is cool and the like, what do you want out of this campaign? I just like
Yes.
seeing my players' excitements, or as a player, like, what am I excited about? That's cool. You could feed on that energy. And I also know that, like, again, surprising everyone, I am an excitable person.
What?
I know it's brand new information. But like, having other people at the table get excited about the same stuff that you are excited about, like, just like, it's so hard to not get like to feed off of it and get like hyped up about like, oh my God, I built this character and she's so great and I can't wait to put her on the table, and like, oh, how are we gonna know each other, and what is all the characters gonna have the relationships, and how are we gonna put that together, and like, that'll be a perfect GIF. You're welcome, everyone.
You're welcome. Clip it. Take it.
Clip it down below. I think this would be an excellent time because I'm an old person and I would love to go take a bio break.
Yes.
So give us a couple of minutes at home. Grab yourself it's cozy and fall. Get yourself a pumpkin spice latte and come back here in a few minutes. So we'll see you in a minute. Bye. Welcome back from the break. We were playing a horror game recently called Sleepaway, about a camp, a summer camp that's like being terrorized by a cryptid.
Ooh,
and I make a bunch of little cute, ridiculous noises. And
for the cryptid?
And no, just like in general in my life. And like when we came back from break, I was like, welcome back from the break. Ba, 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 ba. And I like did a little dance and a song. And then I was like, maybe that's not the tone of what's happening here.
Just take those notes and put them in minor and then you'd be good.
Yeah. It's just hard to do. Like,
yes.
I was like, but I,
just make it happen. Kind of like the worn down Chuck E. Cheese kind of scary.
Terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah, that like animatronic, also very scary. And like like not what you were expecting, it like moving in a way that you don't think it should move.
Real janky, and the eyes still move.
Jerky. Yeah. Don't like it.
But it's great in the same note. Yep.
Yeah, in the correct setting. Very good.
Yes. Perfect. That's the reference point that we want.
Yes.
But for so much in our real life, I'd be like, if I never see it in real life again, I'd be okay.
I definitely did have my 18th birthday, though, at Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, that's because there's fun and games, so why not? And pizza. Yes.
Yeah. Although I feel like I did go back to Chuck E. Cheese like one time when my kids were little, and I was like, this is a hellscape.
What has happened? Aren't they making a comeback again, though?
I don't know, but perhaps, I don't know. I just feel like,
I don't know.
I don't know. I remember it not being creepy. And then like I went as an adult and was like, this is creepy. Is it because I didn't perceive it as creepy when I was a kid, or has it changed?
Ooh.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, you can't determine that. You can't. Like, I love the movie The Last Unicorn a lot as a child. But when I went back, I'm like, I still love it. Don't get me wrong. I still love it to death.
But is it because of the nostalgia?
Yes. I look at it, I'm like, yeah. Okay.
There's a lot of movies that I remember from a kid loving and like revisiting and being like, ooh, this is really problematic.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Even TV shows, I'm like, okay. Can't do that again.
Yeah.
Can't do that again. I'm really worried. So streaming the TTRPG space, right? This has been still relatively new. I'm worried about when that kind of feeling happens.
Yeah.
Like 10 years from now, and I look at my work, I'm like,
ooh.
I was learning then, like I see that over like in some skill level. Like when I watch some of my early stuff, I'm like, I was learning how to RP for the first time. And I give myself credit for like, okay, everyone has beginning notes. That's fine.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm real worried. I'm like, but part of me that is motivation now. Like, am I double checking myself? Am I putting myself up in the best kind of scenario to take care of myself and my audience?
Yep. Oh, yeah. And there's a little bit of like product of your time and like all of that stuff and what was acceptable and what was not acceptable and
what we knew, what we were able as a society.
And also like how much of that do you censor or take down then? Like,
ooh, that's a tough.
It's hard to determine, right? Like I think we're a big Disney house here. Like we do a lot of Disney stuff, and one of the things that they do that I think is really interesting is they put like a disclaimer in front of their really old cartoons that's like, there was some stuff that was portrayed in this that is just like not acceptable anymore. But we're choosing to keep it intact, knowing that it's not okay with we have, not that we have changed our views, but like we have learned since then that this is not a thing that we can do. And like, so this is something we made and we're going to keep it this way. And like, how much of that do you do with like, I just didn't know. And I have
Mhm.
grown and changed. And
Mhm.
we as a society have grown and changed, and like didn't realize that some naivete maybe like of like, oh, this is hurtful.
Mhm.
You know, like how much do we keep up and how much do we take down, and
Mhm.
what do you do with
Right.
it?
And there's not like a across the board answer, right?
No.
Part of it is like, well, how can I frame it in a context like that? Because I like the idea of like, listen, we're gonna own it. We did it. It was it was not the smart choice. It was not the kind choice. It was not the
Right.
thoughtful choice. All right, behind this. So I'm gonna give you this context warning that this is not the standards we hold ourselves to anymore. We
Yeah.
know we've learned better and we do better now. And that's really nice. But then there's other spots where like where you can't include that. You know, you can't go back or you can't edit it or offer that, or people might see it out of context. And
Right.
that's the judge of like, you don't want to hide and pretend like we've always been perfect and good. And we've never sidelined anyone ever or their stories and experiences. Right. And I think that's also part of it. Like as human beings, we're getting better at it. Like I know
Yeah.
any high schooler or middle schooler, like we've been mean to someone
Sure.
when they didn't deserve it at some point in time. Because,
Yeah.
you
There
know,
was misdirected anger.
we were learning. We were learning. And that doesn't mean that it was okay of what we did, but that we are understanding and we're improving.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. One is we acknowledge what we did was wrong. Can we do that publicly? Can we own the work and the stories that we've told? And can we say, we know what we did was wrong? Right? Can we also demonstrate that we are no longer that same person is the other part of that.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're all just
Yeah.
being better than we were the day before. And like, I
Mhm.
feel like that is maybe all we can do as people, like strive for kindness, but
Mhm.
give yourself grace because you know it's going to mess up. You're not going to be
Yeah.
perfect. And also with that in mind, trying to give other people the same kind of grace.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know.
Yep.
There's just a lot. There's a lot happening.
There's a lot happening. And that's always going to be the hardest part. And I know, especially here in the TTRPG space and for streaming it, there's a responsibility of storytelling that we have.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, I hear sometimes people say like there are different rules for in person versus online, and kind of, but at the same time, you should still be the same kind of person of what we would share publicly as you
Yeah.
would at your table.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you don't want to have built an image and then find out if somebody meets you in person and plays at your table in person that you're just like a really terrible
Mhm.
person.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, this is not it at all.
This is not what I thought you would
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Like, and I think there's a difference between like I'm playing a character, but we as content creators, our brand is us. We are
Mhm.
the product.
Mhm.
It's me, and I want you when you meet me in person. When anyone meets me in person, I want them to be like, she is the same person
Mhm.
as when she is on the show. She's the
Yes.
same person because
Yes.
you should be. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody curates, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to, but that's a little bit more, I would even consider like code switching.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain words you don't use in front of your grandmother, for
Yes.
example, you know,
Very much so.
but like, I think that fundamentally that doesn't change who you are.
No. Your ideas, your appeals, your values, those are still the same. You can just you express those differently in different places, right? Like sure, I feel very comfortable and free and at home, like or wherever I'm at, I allow myself to express myself, but I know also when I'm in professional settings, right? I adjust. That doesn't mean I'm less creative. I allow that just to express itself in other ways that's going to work in that environment. Or I find environments that are going to allow me to be who I want to be, right? And that maybe I'm like, okay, maybe I don't need to work in this very government job where I have to wear a suit every day.
Yeah, this is maybe not who I am. And
Yes.
it is making me switch too many codes. And so
Yes.
I don't want to be in this space.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's that ebb and flow. Those conversations we need to have, and one, knowing who we are. But it's also the choice with our characters, because you're right. There's so much of it that reflects on us, and it's us telling our story. Our brand is us. The stories we tell are us on this end. And even when we create characters, it's still the choice of whose story we want to tell.
Yep.
So when I create a character, it's because I think their story is going to be worth telling. I like playing bad guys, but in those stories, I need it to be clear, like, this is the bad guy. I don't want you to look at these actions. Like, that doesn't mean it can't be difficult or you can't empathize with them. But I want people to know, like, when we're doing this story, I don't want you to see them as, yeah, this is acceptable.
Yeah.
There's a framework, there's an approach. And that really comes from, again, purposeful storytelling and how you collaborate with others to make sure that message is clear.
Yeah. And also, like, we're not scripted. And like, I think, like, compare, and yes, it's acting with dice. I get it. But like conflating, it's easy to conflate somebody with a character that they play on TV, for example. Like, there's a lot of stories of people being like approached on the street and like being yelled at when they play villains in a long running show that's very popular.
Didn't Joffrey quit for a while from Game of Thrones?
A lot of people quit who played the bad guys because there's like huge animosity to, because they see them as that character.
Yeah.
And so knowing how easy it is to like intermesh with that when you're not scripted, like, got a strong brand and people are gonna put it together. And that can be really hard as a content creator. Like, people are mean. Hey, people are mean on the internet. Like, they are safe. They feel safe being able to yell at you because there's a separation and you are just a face on a screen. And like, it's hard.
Yes. Especially if that's all they see you as, like on TV or the movies. Like, I don't know them in their real life, their personal life. And, I respect that. They should be able to keep that private and separate.
Absolutely.
And so people think this is the only way I've seen you presented to me. That must be who you are. Same with on TT. Like, if you hop into these shows, if you don't hear us talking beforehand, or you don't come to our other shows where we're not playing a game, right? You only see me as that character. And so in your mind, that is the only way in which I exist.
Yeah.
But I'm fully fleshed and I do other things.
I am a person, well-rounded.
Yes.
We're as well-rounded as one can be.
Yeah,
in this day and age. We try.
Some parts are a little.
Yeah.
I'm more of like a goopy, weird shape.
And that's all right. Yeah. I mean, but we're doing our best. And I think it's really easy for people to forget that as they're watching. Like, I think it's really easy for them to be like, well, I have formed an opinion about you.
Yes.
No, don't.
Yes. And it's not like we don't understand that everyone is not going to love us. Like, I get it. Like,
sure,
that's okay. And our show isn't, not everyone is not who we're trying to hit.
Correct.
That's all right. Is everyone welcome to watch it? Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. But it doesn't need to resonate with everyone. And to feel the need to let me know that. I don't know if they just think we're operating like there's a big campaign and they must have like a social media manager who is the in-between, who then takes it to like their marketing team. And then maybe the actual performers or content creators will actually, no, we're the one. We read it.
It's just me.
It's us. Yeah. Like, it's a direct line that you got.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And then it's such a, like, I understand that there are some people who are like, they have reached a level of notoriety where they like have to go onto convention floors, like, in disguise.
Yes. They've got handlers to kind of keep them going to where they need to go.
It's wild. Like, I am not at all saying that I'm not grateful for where my space is in the space, but I'm also realistic about where my space is within the RPG community. And like, I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I can just go onto the con floor. It would be nice to have somebody help me, because as a human, I think everybody would enjoy having somebody help them. Like,
well, yes, very much so.
But like, you don't. And I do, I have people who come with me and they help keep my schedule because I ask them to, like, hey, please, it would be really nice if you're going to be here, if you could help me. Cool. But like,
Mhm.
it's not in like a handler
Yeah, that's still different.
sort of like, I have to keep people away from you. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine being in that space where I couldn't just go do whatever I needed to do or wanted to do at a gathering
Yes.
like that.
Yes. Yes. I want to be able to enjoy it too.
Yes. I am also going to this convention.
Yes, I am here. I am an attendee. Right? To be able to enjoy, go through all the shops, to look through it. Yes.
You know what? You know what's great for that is
Hmm.
Gary Con.
I have never gone.
It is about, I think last year was like 3,000 people.
Okay. That's a good size.
Pretty good.
Comfortable.
It's very
size.
comfortable. And it truly feels like it's in March up in Lake Geneva. And it feels like you're just hanging out with friends and playing games. And like,
that's a good feel.
It's not, and there just like happens to be a vendor hall.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, and there's also fun stuff in here, but it's not overwhelmingly large. Like Gen Con has, I think it was like 74,000 people this year, something bonkers. Like,
that's crazy. I mean, it's great, but it's
great.
Crazy.
Yeah. But there's no possible way that you could see everyone or even everyone that you want to see. Like, and also like, you know, I went into the vendor hall, and I am very busy at Gen Con, but I went into the vendor hall a couple of times, not an unreasonable amount of times. And still probably only saw like a quarter of it because there were just so many vendors. And like at Gary Con, things are a little bit more relaxed. Go play a game. You can order food to the table wherever you are at. And like,
yes.
Very chill. I had time at Gary Con to like set up a breakfast with a friend. Like, hey, you want to meet for breakfast? Yeah, okay, great. Like, go do that. And like,
well, and I think people forget how important it is, yes, to have the big cons are fun, right? Tons of energy, all sorts of things that you get to see, the crossroads of so many people in the space. Yes. But the mid and small size ones are cozy. That's where you really get to build relationships, you know?
Yeah. Like you get to set up a game that's like not on the schedule. Just like, I've been wanting to run this game. Do you want to play it with me? Yeah. You cool at like 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
We'll find a table somewhere and we'll just do it. And it's just like such a lovely little space. Yeah. And if anybody at home wants to fund Becca coming up to Gary Con, I will definitely already be there. I'm going to be there. It'll be fun. In fact, I believe Patrick will be there as well if we wanted to do a pre-Gen Con in-person retrograde.
Let me write down Gary Con too. I got my long to-do list of like, all right, I keep thinking like, I got to plan some of these out.
I know.
Okay. Another one.
I am trying really hard next year to get to, obviously not this October because it's too soon, but next October to go down to PAX Australia.
Ooh, right.
I just want an excuse.
The Australia-New Zealand game, first of all, the players, the people, the content creators down there, amazing. I don't think I've met a single one where I'm like, I love all of them so much.
It's so great.
They're so good-hearted. They're wildly talented, and they're the best. They're the best.
And I've never gotten to go there. I studied when I was in college. I did a semester abroad. And so I did a lot of like, I lived in England for a while. I lived in Ireland for a while. And I traveled while I was over there. Traveling between countries was like traveling between states here. Yeah. So I was just like, I don't know when I'm coming back. So I'm going to go all over. So I did a lot of like European travel. But I've always wanted to go to Australia and or New Zealand. And so I was like, I mean, this should be an excuse. And I just have to figure out how to make it financially viable.
Yes.
Just figure it out.
Just drop by each of their own little studios one at a time, make it a tour.
Absolutely. Like, And I know I've been talking to AJ Winters, and she was like, if you can come down here, like you can
Yeah.
crash with me and we'll do stuff in studio.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it's really just airfare. It's really
Yeah.
it's really just airfare. And then food when I get there, but I would be buying food here anyway. So that I don't even
It
count.
transfers.
So yeah. So I'm just like, all right, well, I mean, let's see how many thousands of dollars that I can fundraise with all of my side jobs. Like maybe I'll hit Ko-Fi real hard and just be like, everybody just $5 at a time. Like, just give me.
Let us tell more stories. But that's part of like, I know people are like, yes, the digital world has opened up so many more doors. Like if it weren't for being able to do content creation here on a variety like Twitch, YouTube, right? Never would have met the amazing people like Dag, the whole team from Dice Legends, Robert Hartley, AJ Winters, Lubofin, right? Like there's so many amazing, talented people over there. But now that my world has been expanded, I want my physical world to expand to like I want, right? That's the problem. Like now that I know I'm missing out on getting to hang out with cool people over there, like now I'm mad and I need to travel there.
Yeah. And it's like not the same as much as I love having like like let's hop in this and have a conversation sort of face to face. It's just different.
Yes.
Being able to be in the same physical space. I am a hugger. And like very exciting to be able to like meet a person that I have been creating with for years and then be like, oh my God, we are together. This is, look it, I can touch you. This is exciting.
You're real. You are.
You're a real person. You're not like, should I carry like a little box around me because this is how you see me. Just like it's all good stuff. I have no idea what anybody is taking out of this conversation.
Everything, anything and everything, all of it.
Everything. Just a little cozy corner.
Yes. But that's part of it. Like when we, in this corner, we're just kind of realizing and kind of exploring all of the different flow ideas that we get as content creators. STT. There's the wants, there's the needs, there's the challenges. You know, so many times I hear, and I think it's great, right? One, it's nice. Yeah, you could just turn on your camera and you can start creating content. But when you want to make sure that you're developing something for your audience, there's so many more things. Or even like when you're doing a D&D game and you're turning on the camera, it's not just you, right? You are now prepping everyone else on this end. You're doing so much more. There's so much you have to consider. There's a lot of variables, many that are exciting and makes it worth it 100 times over when you create something. You're like, this was amazing. I'm so glad I got to collaborate with these people. I'm immensely proud of this show, of this content, of whatever it is that we've been able to make. And then there's other parts and it's like, this is a pain point, or I need to just make sure I do this, or I need to find money to make this happen. Or, you know, I need to figure out how now to learn this program, or now TikTok is a thing and I have to figure out how to use TikTok, right? Like,
oh my God. It's a whole nother social media again has changed. Do I need to, which one do I sign up for? Which one do I put my energy into? Yeah.
And it's a lot and it's exhausting and you have to do it every single week. Like there's not the option of like, oh, I'm going to take a 6-month break. I'm going to take a breather. You know, there's the consistency. I don't know. Jambo is an amazing individual. She was, I think, highlighted in it's New York Times or Washington Post for being a content creator at the time. And I remember reading the comments under one of those platforms on their social media, because she was mentioning like how difficult it is, right? It's demanding. You have to know so many tools, and people clearly not even reading the article would say like, why are you complaining? All you have to do is turn on your camera and you get to play video games all day. Or like you get to play TTRPGs all day. You know, why are you thinking it's difficult? And it's like, you clearly don't understand that we are the marketer. We are the producer. We are the HR. We are the CFO. We are the CMO. You know, like we have all of the hats.
Yeah.
That we're playing.
And the idea that like, especially if it's not a long running campaign of something, that you are constantly switching systems and learning. It's a different game again. I'm teaching myself another game, and like it's on top of our. I'm not a full-time content creator.
Yeah,
I mean it's a large part of my job, but like I have a day job.
Yeah,
it is game related. but
Mhm.
like it is still a job. I still have other things that I'm doing.
Exactly.
And like, so that means, some weeks I'm running 3 or 4 different systems for a bunch of my different jobs.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just a lot. It's like,
And then to tackle with the discussions that we had at the very beginning of this of like, how do we want to tell a story? The only time you get to really dive into that is if you've got time to let your brain think about it.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, and then being responsible about telling the story and feeling prepared, and like the level of your anxiety will go down the more prepared you feel, but timing wise, how prepared am I? Like, how much do I have time to do everything? Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a little bit of I feel very lucky that I get to tell these stories. I think it's really exciting that is what I get to do. But as with any kind of creative thing, it's work. Ask
Yes.
any kind of creative, whether they're writing or painting or drawing or whatever, is like some days you just do not have it. Don't have that creativity in there. It's tapped.
Mhm.
Your brain needs to like cool off from all of the stuff that you've been doing and like recharge. And I think with hustle culture where we're at, it's really hard to remember that. And because like you said, consistency is so important, and you have to be out there and you have to constantly be doing all of the things. Otherwise, you don't show up in social media anymore, and people might not keep coming back because they don't know you're there. But also, like,
and then the algorithm punishes you, right? Like, because you're not there, then even if they are looking for you, they have to find directly to your page. Yes.
Yep. But also, like, they'll find you again.
Yes.
I think we need to be kinder to ourselves, because if you need to take a week off, it's okay. Take a week off, and then, or 2 weeks, or even 6 months, and start over and rebrand. And
very much so.
If you're doing it because you love it, that like energy that you put out into the world, people are going to gravitate toward, and they're going to find you again. And like, it's okay to rest should you need it.
Not even just okay, it's necessary. It's necessary. Take it, find your breathing moments. And that's even like, I think that's also still good in TTRPGs as a whole. Like, we love doing long-term campaigns, but it's also okay to have breathers from those as well. Like, as you get into it, make sure you come back to it. Give it refreshing moments on it. Let everybody sit and rest with their characters instead of always like, here we go again. Here we go again. And I know that's hard because sometimes when you take breaks, getting people back on the scheduling monster is hard.
Oh boy, schedule monster.
Yeah, that will always be the biggest, baddest beast that we have to battle every single time. But it's remembering, kind of like the silly saying, right? Too much of a good thing can become a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think it's great to be able to just be like, I don't have the big heavy thing in me tonight, but we're going to play this silly one-off because I just want to be with my friends.
Yes.
I just found a game that's called Let These Mermaids Touch Your Dick, Maybe.
What? I like that there's the maybe at the end.
It's all about consent. If you want. And like, there is a game for everything. If you like let's bet, what are you feeling tonight?
Yeah.
I want to feel some sort of like weird erotic.
Is it just out of curiosity because they don't have one? Is this like purely like scientific, or
I don't know. I mean, it's on
this.
Itch. It's by River House Games.
Okay.
Just like, first of all, it's only $10.
Okay, that's amazing.
But also, there are over 3,000 community copies. So if you are like, I just think, because so many people have reviewed it, and it's every time it gets reviewed, another community copy gets added.
That's amazing. Everyone gets this.
Yeah.
Here, I need to bookmark this. What is it called again?
It is called Let These Mermaids Touch Your Dick, Maybe. It is adult content for players ages 18 plus.
That's fair.
But I have to tell you, the description of it already, I was like, I think I just have to get it, even if I never play it.
This is amazing. Yeah, just to have it in your collection.
The last paragraph of it, of the description before the buy now button says, if you're feeling like you're about hypothetical mermaid dick touching, well, damn, I've got a really good game for you to play with some friends, and it's this one.
How did they know? How did they know this is exactly?
How did you know?
I'm really curious about this topic, and nobody else is talking about it. Maybe this game is about dick touching. Maybe
there's so many games out there to play that don't involve mermaids possibly touching your dick. Find one of those and have a blast. Yeah. Like, no worries. I just like, that's the thing. I think people with D&D being the behemoth that it is, I think that like people forget that there's like so many niche little games that you can just, it's just like silly.
I'm bookmarking this.
Doing it.
Yes. That is hilarious. But you're right. Like, there's so many different options, so many different ways that you could go about it. Yeah. D&D is a behemoth, right? And we're grateful, right?
Absolutely.
It has set a great foundation, but it's also been a point of inspiration for so many other gameplay types.
Yeah. And like, for me, it wasn't my intro into the RPG world. I started on D6 Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
Star Wars was the franchise. Like, I have a Star Wars tattoo.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars is very big for me.
Yeah.
And so my partner was like, this is how we get her.
Yeah. Ha ha ha. We'll pull her in this way. And then you said yes.
Found it. Yeah.
A trap was laid.
Yeah. And then I couldn't get out. And like, I think it's just like knowing that you could type in any phrase and then RPG after it into Google, something's coming up.
Yes.
Like, it's going to be there. You're going to find
Is that kind of like a new version of like, what is it called? Rule 34, 32, 22? No.
I don't know.
No, the one where like, if it's there, it's also a porno.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
Yeah. I mean, that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also that.
Yeah, but now there's also one for all TTRPGs.
For RPGs,
It's probably a game now.
Yeah, it's probably a game. Let these mermaids touch your dick, maybe. It's probably a game.
Yeah. There's two sword lesbians, right? It's a game, right?
It's such a great game. Listen.
I know. I have not actually had a chance to play. I've watched it so many times, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Well,
absolutely brilliant.
To be fair, I have also only ever run it. There are so many games that I have only ever run that I'm just like, but I want
to play too.
Well, I just want to make a character.
Yes.
Let me do it. Yeah. One day. Hey, other content creators out there, if you want me to come and be on your show, I am also very qualified to be a player.
Very much so. There's some, I'm totally blanking on the name, but this was the smartest way. He's got his podcast. And what he does is he invites people on to be his DM.
Oh, nice.
And the whole premise is he's the same character, and then he just has guest DMs every single week. So like he always gets to be the player on his own show. I'm like,
I love
that.
They
figured out the solution.
You're so smart. I'm stealing it from you.
Oh yeah. It's the loophole. But that's a challenge, right? Like, so some of you, if you're sitting at home and you're like, I've never DM'd before, give your DM a break. Offer to DM a small session or two so that way they can play again.
Yeah. Yeah. Come in and we do that. I do that at home. My partner is for our long running D&D game he's the DM.
Yeah.
And so we always take a break around his birthday and I run something for him. So we've gotten to do like, he really likes Shadowrun. He really likes Fallout. There's like a couple of systems that I'm like, let's do this. So pull something. I actually ran for his last birthday. I ran Retrograde because he was like, that sounds cool. And I was like, yes, it does. Ta-da. But also like, it's one of the only games that I get to like play in. So I'm always like, yes, please. I just keep playing it.
Yes. Well, and that's also why I love games like Retrograde too. Like, because you're right, they're one cheaters, Right. Like sometimes DMing can be intimidating because it's massive world building.
It's a
Like, I
lot.
gotta prep all these character cards and NPCs and maybe all the different merchants they can come in and have tables that they can roll on for items. And
Mhm.
I gotta be familiar. And they're all doing like level 7. I'm like, what is it? What can even a level 7 wizard do? What are all their spells
Everything.
they
What
have?
they can they not do is like an
Yeah,
easier
right.
question. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so like I get it. Like that's intimidating, but that's why you look around. Look for these one cheaters that you can learn in 15 minutes because they are just as fulfilling.
Just as fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different kind of fun, but it's
Yes.
just as much.
Yes.
And like, there are some games that you shouldn't dive into as the first time you're going to DM.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, there
Yeah.
are definitely games that
Yeah.
are like, this is just too complicated for somebody who is not
Yeah.
confident in their ability to do it. But then, like,
Mhm.
you just
Yeah.
play a.
Yeah.
Just keep
Well-
one of those one sheets.
Even for like if it's your first time DM in a D&D game, I'd say start with a one shot.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't
commit
have to. It
yourself
doesn't
to a
have to be
long-term-
enormous.
Yeah. I mean, if you like it, then you can always afterwards choose and be like, now it's going to continue. Right.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
don't overcommit yourself.
Yeah.
Love yourself. Be kind.
Love yourself. We just
Yeah.
started a family Curse of Strahd campaign.
Ooh. That's cool.
And I built myself
Mhm.
a Harengen that is a rogue. And so I'm just like this little tiny bunny.
Oh,
Rogue.
the big ears.
Yeah, floppier.
Floppier.
Yeah. So she's
Aw.
got the long, she's a little black bunny.
Yeah.
And it just makes a lot of sense because I'm in this like horrific setting. And I'm
Yes.
just like, but what if I'm like a little bunny?
And I'm the cute one.
I'm gonna steal everything, but I'm
Yes.
gonna do it so sweetly.
Yes. But that's a great character build idea. Yes.
Yeah. And then my oldest's built like a reborn and is like cobbled together like a Frankenstein's monster. And so like, and he's like 7 feet tall. And so I'm 2 feet tall and I'm just like this little hopping
This is
next
the
to-
perfect pairing.
This is it. We're doing
This is definitely all one party.
for sure we belong together. Look at us.
For family pictures, like you have to be set on a table just to be close enough in height.
I'm gonna be in a little baby Bjorn, I think.
Oh
Just
my
like
gosh, please.
in the front. Beep, beep,
Yes.
beep, beep.
Lean into the cuteness.
Gonna go into it.
Yes. Yes.
Yay.
We can be anything.
Yeah, I listen. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today and just like
course.
having a conversation. We don't get to do this very
No.
often, so
No, not
I really
enough.
like it. It was good. And as a gentle reminder for people at home, should you want us to be in the same space, like feel free to like send us some cash and we will put ourselves together. You know,
Mhm.
like let's get me to Australia. Let's get Becca to Gen Con and to Gary Con. Let's like mash our worlds together.
Yes. Let's bring all of this in.
Let's do it. Yeah. So, Becca, do you have anything coming up that you would like to plug?
Season 5 of D20 Deathmatch is underway. So if you do like some PvP TTRPG, which I know is not everyone's cup of tea, or is it always welcome? But in this case, it is because it's meant to be silly and absolutely ridiculous. And the game isn't fair on purpose on that end.
Correct.
We are every Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern over on YouTube, D20 Deathmatch.
Do we know who this Sunday's is?
No.
Okay. Okay, good.
Well, we do. I don't remember because
fair.
I'm living on an hour by hour basis of where my brain is at.
And you know what? That's fair. Super fair.
My bad. I can't
Yeah.
hold on. I will look it up. I've got one.
We have the technology
I have
to find out.
access to the internet. Yes. Oh no, this is great. This is Prototopics over on YouTube. He actually has a Star Wars TTRPG as well that he's been having show every Saturday as well. And then the amazing Dr. Bees. And I love her name. Hands down. She's an
Yes.
absolute delight. She's one of our friends from the other side of the pond who will be joining us. And she is pure chaos and will be playing a frog-like character. So
Oh no.
come join
So
us.
her chaos and your chaos
It will
at
explode.
the same
Yes. Yes.
exponential chaos
Yes.
feedback loop.
It will be insane and I love it.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Everybody tune in.
Yes.
And where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on the internet everywhere as Caustic Phoenix, except on Twitter /X because it's Becca Godsey there.
Because something has to be different.
Yes, just to make things a little bit more difficult. You're welcome.
Ta-da! It's like a quest,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like we're gamifying finding us on the internet.
Exactly.
Which is obviously the smartest thing to do when we want
Right.
people to find us.
Right. Well, what about you? What do you have coming up? Where can we find you?
I mean, you can find me every Friday night at 5 p.m. right here on twitch.tv/GenConTV. Next week, I think we're going to maybe actually do the episode 4 of Retrograde. And then I have a couple of things coming up, like Women Are Werewolves. That's coming up. I am partnering with the Badge Quest folks to do an episode. Yeah, I have a couple other ones that I just keep finding cool ones and reaching out to them and being like, come on my show, la la. So if you are, with that in mind, if you are an RPG creator, and you have a game that you think would be cool here on Sarah's Table, please reach out to me. You can find me all over the internet at Pixies and Pins, except for Facebook, which is actor Sarah Moore. And you can go to my website, which is pixiesandpins.com. So check me out in all those places. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to reach out to Grant Howitt about what we have done to Retrograde. I'm going to say to as opposed to with, because it feels like we have ripped it apart and maybe bastardized it a little.
Yes.
So I'm just really interested in what he has to say about that. I'm going to reach out. Grant, chatting with you.
Just a few ideas.
Yeah, just some. And I would like to thank Marcus Mays, who is our tech over at GenCon TV, keeps us running smoothly. I would like to thank my partner, Jeff, who is my personal tech support. And he keeps me mostly sane, and he makes this look very pretty. And thank you to GenCon TV and Peter Atkinson for trusting me to program this show and to giving me this opportunity where I can tell stories that don't fit anywhere else. And thank you at home for hanging out with me today and following along, and find me at a con coming up. I'll be in Vegas for TwitchCon in October. Come see me. And that's it. So as always, keep making art and keep being art. We'll see you next time. Mwah!